Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the place to be each and every Sunday night, where tonight we're coming from the biggest and best field of the week. We finally cracked it for the top strength of field. We're sitting at just over 42 and a half for the race here tonight as some of the biggest names come out to play here tonight. I'm your host, Alex McKellar, and joining me for round 4 once again is the chaotic one himself, Mr. Corey Steinhauser. Corey, we're back in action again with a big field here tonight.
And signed up for this race. Over 190 entries. We almost had 11 splits, but we'll settle for the 10. And topping the strength of field for the week is absolutely incredible. And so it should be, because we're at a fantastic facility here with the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval with the slow chicane set up on the back straight. It should be an absolutely interesting race here, Alex.
Absolutely. It's an interesting track. Can I tell you, it's got every bit of road circuit about it, in my opinion. You've got massive chicanes, massive walls everywhere, and not much oval in this Roval, in my opinion. Big curbs here on the chicanes, and plenty of action ahead of us, no doubt, Corey.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. And speaking of action, we've already gone through most of qualifying, as I'm seeing some cars pulling up in the Heartburn turn number 1. And it looks like at the moment, John Tanko has topped the timesheets with a 1:30.090. Absolutely incredibly quick time around here, Alex.
In quali, mate, that's an absolutely blinding time. A 1 minute 30 dead. Once again, this field showing that there are plenty of people who would love to do that in a race under draft conditions, let alone in quali. That's a fantastic time, as we see Luke Whitten now coming around the back of the circuit for one of his laps. Not sure if it's still a flying lap. He's coming into the chicane now. The final one, grabs third gear, flicks to the right, back to the left. Can he get it done over the line? He's still down there, all the way down in 15th position, Corey. So plenty of work there to do for Mr. Whitten, as the clock still has a minute and a half to go. Quick circuit, so the guys get their laps in pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. I do believe Luke had already completed his laps. The person I'm looking at is the 9 of the Finnish driver, Timu Vaskalampi, who is actually still on his second flying lap. He's just coming up on the back straight now, heading towards the bus stop. Over here, you've got to use absolutely all the track and be just about brushing that left side wall on the exit. As we see Timu, check with the just about brushing that wall, Alex. It's going to be very tight getting through there with 2 or 3 cars wide.
A little bit cheeky there below the blue and white line for a while there, Mr. Vaskalampi. Of course, the oval sections here, the bank curbs, you're meant to stay out of there. And as he comes through, he's got to be loose out of the final chicane, but Vaskalampi gets it done. Although he's 2 seconds off the pace, so he must have got an incident point there and not set a lap in the end after all, because he's all the way back down in 17th position there, Corey.
Yeah, I do believe you're right, Alex. Having a look at my timing software, it looks like his last lap there was not out. Same with the 8 of Ryan Shooter, who is down in 16th, just 1 in front of Timu. It looks like Luke Whitten and Javi Guerrero, 15th and 18th respectively, still just logging in some laps, getting some practice, as it looks like we've got a couple of people who are choosing not to set times, Alex.
As the clock winds down, let's go through our grid here tonight for round 4 of Sunday Night Lights from Charlotte Motor Speedway. John Tanko, new to the series from Iberia, setting a fantastic time of 1:30 dead. P2 tonight, welcoming back to the series, Jose Soria from Piston Sim Racing Team. P3 tonight, Rafael Renoffer. P4 tonight, welcoming back from UKNI, Benny Simonson. P5 tonight, he's been going so fantastically well, leading ANZ driver for Evolution Racing Team, of course, Mr. Ben Smith. P6 tonight went to Maxime Batifolia, I might get that right tonight. Car plate number 2 starting P6. P7 tonight, UKNI's Simon Edwards back for another crack at Sunday Night Lights. P8 tonight went to Manu Lucetta. From Italy, P9 tonight. UK Nice James McRitchie back for another shot at the title. P10 tonight. Leading Team Milo driver here tonight, Mr. John Skoltz. P11 went to Talk Inc.'s Mitchell McLeod. Great to see Mitchell back in the race tonight. Rod Pidnar, another run for him starting out of P12 tonight for the ANZ driver. Iberia's Alberto Alvarez Gonzalez starting from P13 tonight. Håkon Grebstad representing Team Ovaltine, of course, in P14. Team Milo's Luke Witten in P15 tonight. Ryan Shooter from ANZ in P16. Team of Ascalampi from Finland, as we saw, in P17 tonight. Iberia's Harvey Guerrero starting in P18. Mr. Anthony Jones from Team Torpedo in P19. And Thrustmaster Mivano's Enzo Cantor starting all the way down in P20 tonight as we get set to go. I'm just trying to find the front of the pack. There we go, and a decent camera angle as the revs start to rise, as the red lights mean revs, green lights mean go, and we are away on the first of 19 laps here tonight. Tanko leading us into the first corner there with who's he got tucked in behind him? Soria tucked in behind in his first race of the season. Line astern they go on the opening lap. Everyone seemed to be getting through okay so far, Corey.
That's right, Alex, and it looks like we're going to be single file here as we come through this infield section. A lot of people using a lot of grass there. I can see Team Milo's John Skoltz in the background taking a lot of liberty with the grass, all four wheels on it, maybe trying to top Benjamin Smith from last week. But alas, we're continuing on with the front of the pack here as they come onto the oval section for the first time. Turns 9 and 10, I do believe it is, for this Roval configuration. This is the best chance that these guys are going to have to draft and maybe try and make a move before we get into the bus stop chicane here on the back straight, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming down through this massive chicane for the first time round. They've changed the configuration here, of course. Interesting to see if everyone gets through okay. No one's kissing the wall quite yet. A couple. Oh, there's one. There's two into the wall. Hopefully not too hard, and they can continue racing as they the guys up front now. Soria sitting in behind Tanko with Renhofer tucked in behind as they smashed this second chicane for the first time round. Everyone, I think, got through okay as well. No one tagging the wall on the exit. And that's the thing, Corey, there's so many walls around here. It does remind me very much of a street circuit more than the Roval that we've come to expect.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. And there was one big loser from that final chicane, which was Benny Simonson. Had a horrible run through it and fell to the back, and then he just also had contact with the 7 car of Manu Lachetta as they were coming through turn 1. Manu up on 2 wheels at one point and fell back a couple of spots, but it looks like they've got themselves sorted out now. No damage, both cars continuing on, but at the moment there's a lot of action going on and it's going to be hard to know where to look. But John Tanko, the Iberian driver, is starting to pull away a little bit here, Alex. He's got to be careful because of this large drafting zone.
Yeah, it's interesting, races here during the week for me have found that the draft is not what you might expect here, because the oval section of this track broken up by the chicane that we're about to go through here at turn 11 and 12, and it's a second gear exit of the second apex there, so that full draft that you might expect on the oval section is cut in half, and this second section on the run into turns 15, 16 and 17 in that final chicane, that's where you get the most draft on this track. But really, it's a tough place to pass this place. It's like there's one driving line throughout, and the draft doesn't do what Skippy draft normally does, as we see Renhofer almost lose it on the exit there. Didn't lose it enough to put in the wall, but will he lose touch with this leading pair out in front, Corey?
Well, that's what we're going to have to wait and see, Alex, as there is only realistically the 2 drafting zones to try and maintain a gap to someone in front of you. It's going to be hard for him to try and close back up on these guys throughout the infield section. Just behind him, Ben Smith with a big gap in between himself and third. It's going to be hard for Ben to try and notch that gap as well. I mean, we know Ben is one of the best of the late breakers, but even this gap is going to be a little bit insurmountable for our warm-up race winner there, Alex.
Yeah, I've just spotted Gonzalez has had a moment, and he's now in the pits. We jump back to the replay to see he's coming down into turn 1 now on the tight line. McLeod, was it the 15 car? No, yeah, it was. But then the 17 car. Oh, he's kissed the wall, and he's done it all on his own. And that's all she wrote for Gonzalez. He's packed up stumps and he says, "That'll do me. Thanks for coming." Although, hang on, let's just... sorry, go ahead, mate.
I was going to say, and that's one of the dangers of having a track like this, Alex, is yes, it is a permanent racetrack, but it definitely does have that street race kind of vibe to it. Speaking of which, we do have Belle Isle coming up at the end of the season. So this could be, a great practice session for them with, that only a couple of weeks away, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. Quite a good track in the skips as well. A lot of people find Belle Isle to be a fun track in whatever they're driving. So great to see it back on the schedule. As we jump back up the front now, of course, we've got Tanko, Soria and Renhofer still well and truly in touch. Behind them, we've got Smith leading a second pack with Butterfoulier, Edwards and Simonson. Simonson now, he's well and truly on the back there, but not up the front where we might have otherwise expected him this week, sporting a new multicoloured livery, which we'll have to get used to, Corey. He's not in his usual plain white one, perhaps picking up a new team and a new sponsor as we jump back up the front. These front three really, they've got a 1.5 second gap, 1.6 seconds now back to Smith, and I don't think they're going to lose it anytime soon by the looks.
Oh, Alex, I'm just having a look in the back of the pack here. There's been a little bit of an incident between Vascalampi and Mitch McLeod as well. I'm hearing a little bit of road rage over the driver's channel as well. I'm just having a look at what's happened. Looks like they're coming into the final chicane. And, Mitch McLeod hit the turtle on the inside curve of the first part of that. Big pile up, 4 skippies involved. And I'm pretty sure that is Ryan Shooter and Anthony Jones involved in that one with those 2 drivers, Alex.
Yeah, it looks like McLeod went apex to apex and with side by side. That's not going to work through there. Vascalampi kept into it there, but look, I'll tell you what, tough. There was only room for 1 car there, made by both drivers. McLeod probably could have left a bit more, but there we go. That's the end of McLeod, Vascalampi and a few others involved in that. As you say, and we jump back up the front now. We've got Tanko, Soria and Renhofer still going at it, toe to toe. Best lap of the race so far, not even as good as in quali by the looks. They're still sitting in the 1:30.1 region for the best lap. Renhofer at this stage, I would suggest. But so far, so good for these guys. They're clearing out. Renhofer really struggling to hold on by the looks, Corey.
That might be the case, Alex, but he actually got that fastest lap on the last completed lap. And as you can see, they're right in the brakes in the zone there for the bus stop. He closed right in on the tail of Sawyer. And it looks like he's probably just sandbagging a little bit here, I think, Alex, because he sees that these two are getting a little bit close to each other. He could be just sitting back a little bit, waiting for them to try and make a mistake. And saying that, he has closed right in on the back of Sawyer as they're coming into the final chicane, getting ready to cross the line and start lap number 6, Alex.
Yeah, well, the 18 car here tonight with an I rating of 3,300. To get into this race tonight, car 20, Guerrero needed 3,100 just to get in, just to tick over. So we're starting to get back to some of the strength of fields that we're used to. Free track doesn't hurt. 10 splits is not a bad result either. These guys up front, though, they're just sticking line astern. Nothing too racy there at all. As we jump back to Smith now, who's got Butterfoulier tucked in behind him, and then in behind them, Simonson's now been dropped. We've got Edwards tucked in behind Simonson. The 2 UK and I drivers looking to battle it out. And we've really just got packs of 2 and 3 around the place. McRitchie got Lucetta tucked in behind him. Then you got Pidnar, 1.3 seconds behind, driving a solo race. Grebstad, followed by Witten behind him. Those two, no strangers to racing each other. The Ovaltine and Milo rivalry continuing. Guerrero, some 2.6 seconds behind there in the all-black car with Scholz a further 1.5 behind. Cantor running a very lonely race, some 30 seconds behind there. Before you start, he's the first of the blokes that have pitted. As we jump back up to the front and see these guys going line astern, once again Soria and Renhoff are probably keeping their powder dry as we're just on lap 6. These guys have got enough of a gap. I wonder, Corey, when they're going to start racing.
Well, I'm not actually too surprised that they got a gap like this, Alex, because they were 4 tenths faster. Like the top 2 qualifying drivers of Tanko and Sawyer were 4 tenths faster than Renhopper, who qualified in P3. And that was by themselves with no draft. And we're just starting to see them getting into the 130 flats. But Alex, these guys are absolutely driving for their lives. And we've got a new fastest lap as well on the last lap by Benjamin Smith, who's got no draft in front of him. All he's got is the help from Maxime behind him. And he put in a 1:30.003, Alex. Absolutely incredible time so far.
Yeah, 1:30 dead, fastest lap, matched almost by Tanko in the lead with a 1:30 dead. They were split by a few hundredths of a second there, about 700ths of a second. But Smith not having it all his own way this week again after taking out the first 2, got second last week. Really going to have to work hard to get a podium here, some 1.8. He's dropped 0.2 of a second to the leaders in the last couple of laps, but everyone really trying to race smart here. And the problem is, if you've got the pace to match here, you don't often have the pace to catch, and that seems to be the case here as the gap drops by, well, it varies. It was up by a tenth, and now it's back to about 1.7 seconds. So these guys, they're all quick throughout, and the gap's really holding station at this stage, Corey.
Yeah, well, that's right, Alex. And it looks like these guys, these 3 at the front, are just playing a very smart game right now. They're not getting too aggressive with each other just yet. They'll probably save that for the last 5 laps, which is only about 5 laps away itself. And, you know, they're still putting in the hard yards because they want to try and pull away and get as big of a gap as they can over Benjamin Smith, because they know that Smith has won the previous 2 Sunday Night Lights races, and he won the warm-up race for this one. He's definitely going to be someone to watch for these guys, and they want to try and get as far away from him as possible, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll hop on board with Soria here, the driver in P2, representing Piston Sim Racing. So you got to cut back in. We're just right on board at this back section of the track, so you can get a feel for what it looks like here. You're on the bank table here. You do grab 5th gear here in the draft here. You'll see you'll probably lift in. You'll get around the 2 marker or just beyond. As you see, the top right is lifted, braking, trying to spot that big curb. You can ride a lot of the curbs here, unlike in previous seasons. And then you cut across the painted section there, back onto the bank section in time to not cross the ire or incur the ire of the iRacing stewards. Running below that blue and white line regularly will get you a ban. They don't like that around here. And then coming into this final 15, 16, 17, again big on the curbs, but that's a flowing 3rd gear. Oh, a little touch of the wall there by Tanko in front by the looks, Corey's, but I don't think he's done any damage there by the looks.
Looks like the car is still steering pretty straight here, Alex, and Renhofer just put in the fastest lap of the race again with a 29.717, Alex. These guys are absolutely pushing the limits right now. The fuel burn off is showing these guys that they can go even faster still. And with that draft, Renhofer is definitely in a great position to try and continue this trend of fastest lap after fastest lap at the moment, Alex.
Oh, I've just hopped on with Ben Smith. And the frustrating thing is he's done a 29.812. Great time around here. And then the leader, John Tanko, has done a 29.812. They couldn't have been any closer if they tried. Down to the thousandths of a second. Like I said, pace to match, not to catch. And that's the problem here, is they remain between 1.6 and 1.8 seconds gap. Really frustrating for the driver of Ben Smith in P4, Corey.
Yeah, well, that's right, Alex, but at the end of the day, it only takes one mistake by any of these guys in the top 3, and that's going to bring Benjamin Smith right back into this race, because, yes, he does have the pace to match, not to catch, but if these guys make a mistake, especially if it's Tanko, then all 3 of these guys are going to get checked up enough that that's just going to give Ben Smith the incentive to come up at him And speaking of Tanko making mistakes, he got very close to that wall on the exit of the final corner there, Alex. Looks like he's starting to step up his pace a little bit here. It could start getting a little bit sketchy for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to see Sawyer back in the series. He's sitting in P2 at the moment. He's always been fantastic in quali, always struggled a little bit in the race, but at the moment, sitting in P2, we've got the balance of 10 laps remaining, 9.5 once they head back onto the oval section this time round. Wonder what he's got for us in the second half of this race. Jumping back a bit in our field, we've got Smith just in front of Batafolia, as we said. Simonson sitting some 2.5 seconds behind as he just misses that apex wall on the re-entry back into the oval section. Right on his tail, Simon Edwards again sitting there quietly behind. These guys are doing 130 deads, which is about, I'll tell you what, the last lap I Tanko was a 29.6, as was Smith. These guys setting the track on fire. These guys here in 7 and 8, 6 and 7, they're no slouches, but they're nearly 4 tenths off the pace. That's crazy to think those standard of drivers could be that far off the pace, Corey.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. And we know how quick Edwards can be here in iRacing. And we know that Benny Simonson definitely does have the pace to mix it up with these fast guys. But it's just, I don't know what it is about this track. He just doesn't quite have the pace to really, truly mix it up. As we're just having a look at the lap times coming in now. Benjamin Smith with a 29.8, Tanko with a 29.5, and Sawyer with a 29.510 to take the new fastest lap of the race. These guys are just lapping faster and faster every lap, Alex, and it's going to get to the point to where the tyres aren't going to take much more of this, and they're definitely going to start slipping and sliding around a little bit here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the tyre model here means that the tyres actually get better as the runs get longer. So, but the guys will throw it in, and you're right, the slipping and sliding could occur just from that fact of getting perhaps a little overconfident. But, 29.5 last time round, that's brilliant as the tyres really start coming into play on the approach now to the back chicane there at 11 and 12. Really tough to get right. Like I said, they've changed the layout of this. You brake hard in there, down to third, second on the apex, hit the gas on the second apex there, and try not to understeer out into that wall. But you want to get as close to it as you can, Corey, because that's where all the speed is on this, what is the longest straight on the circuit.
Well, that's right, Alex. It goes down to the old homage of you want to try and make as less amount of distance for yourself as possible, and getting as close as you can to that inside wall coming out of the bus stop is definitely the way to do it. But these guys are showing how to do it absolutely perfectly. They're getting within millimeters of that wall, which is an incredible sight to watch. I mean, I reckon next time we come here, we're going to have to get a camera set up on that wall so we can get the flyby of these drivers as they're passing it, because I reckon it'd definitely be very entertaining. And these guys now still in the 29.5s now. This time it's by Renhoffer, but no lap record for this one, Alex. So it looks like they've just caught up a little bit there with their sliding around. As you see, Sawyer there in P2 going for a big slide. And that right-hander as we're getting ready to come back out onto the oval.
Yeah, absolutely. Just backed off a couple of tenths there with a 29.7. Smith a 29.9 behind. He's now 3 seconds back and wondering perhaps what's gone on this week. Simonson now further 2 seconds back with Edwards tucked in behind him. McRitchie and Lucetta, they're the final battle pack there, sitting in 8th and 9th respectively. The rest of the field somewhat spread out. It's Witten and Scholz, 2-team Milo drivers, are the closest to a battling pack after that, with everyone else strung out like Brown's cows. But back up the front, we've got Tanko, Sawyer and Renhoffer holding station once again. Sawyer right up the tailpipe this time round, putting all sorts of pressure without breaking the racing line. I tell you what, if he expects to actually make a move here or perhaps unsettle his opponent, they've got a gap now. They're 3.5 seconds ahead of Smith behind. This is where you can start thinking about showing the nose at least, maybe upsetting Tanko in front and getting him off his game. Maybe get him to run that little bit wide, get on the gas a little early and understeer off into the walls. We see the outside rear there stepping stepping outside the bounds of the track there, but no, it tapers off there, but if you're not too aggressive there, you can get it back on. Otherwise, you'll fly away off to the side as the camber goes against you. But look, my point here is that, Corey, with 6.5 laps to go as they come out onto the oval section once more, this is where you really want to start getting in the head of the guy in front. You've run nose to tail the whole way round, but this, you got to make it happen at some point, Corey. If you leave it to the last lap or two, you haven't had a dry run. You don't know. You don't know what you're leaving it all to chance at that point.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, Alex. But I think that's also what he's trying to do in that final chicane. He's really sizing up how much he can close in on Tanko there in the braking zone. I reckon he's also trying to do it in a way where he's going to make Tanko think that he's closing in fast. So Tanko's going to have to brake that little bit deeper to avoid getting hit from behind. And I reckon he's going to try and make Tanko make that kind of a mistake. But you're right here in that braking zone, he should be just showing the nose a little bit as he gets sideways coming off that final apex. And, these guys are definitely continuing to step it up. I can see the fastest lap of the race at the moment, 29.4, Alex. Absolutely blistering.
Yeah, 29.4, but I don't know if that registered. Where did that one come in, mate?
I think that one was a couple of laps ago, because we haven't been keeping an eye on the laps.
Yeah, but spotted it. Sorry, lap before last by the looks. He's done a 29.4. Tucked in behind with that 29.5 once again from Tanko that lap round. But yeah, look, these guys making every bit of use of the curbing too. It's interesting, particularly through that final chicane. We saw Soria get quite loose there on the exit of the final corner there as he rode the edge curbing to the maximum. You've got to be really careful, because as the suspension picks up and the grip grabs, you've got to have your wheel point exactly the right way, or she's going to go back to front pretty quickly, particularly through that. It's a quick corner there, your third gear, and as we see them approaching that section once again, Soria still content to sit in behind, but let's hop on board with Soria once again. Is he going to have a look? No, he's still going to tuck in behind, but you'll see what I mean in a moment. They grab a bit of this first curve and then a lot of the second. See the wheel work there? You can see that he's just trying to adjust as the suspension picks up and the grip grabs, just to make sure the car doesn't spew off into the wall, or the back becomes the front, puts you into the inside wall, Corey.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, Alex. And another thing we will have to bring in is also these guys, even though the tyres do get better the longer we run, these guys are starting to fall off on the timesheets a little bit. So maybe tyre wear is starting to become a little bit of a factor, because they're definitely not getting into the 29.5s like they were. They're now in the 29.6s and 7s. 29.6 by Renhopper and Tanko and Sawyer, both in the 7s. These guys are still pushing to the absolute limit. Maybe they're just starting to push the envelope a little bit too far, and it's starting to affect their speed here, Alex. So it's going to be all up in the air. We're going to have 4 laps to go. Oh, 3 laps to go, maybe. Well, yeah, 4 laps to go when we get to the start-finish line this time. It's definitely going to be anyone's game right now between these top 3. And as I said, if any of them make even just a small mistake, that could very well bring Benjamin Smith back into this, who's still only 3 seconds back.
Yeah, absolutely. Really impressed so far. Renhofer, new to the Sunday Night Lights series. He stands to get a bag of points and I rating out of this. 102 I rating on the books if he sticks in 3rd position or better here tonight. But the car 18, the 18th seed here tonight, he's stuck in tight with these leaders throughout, really picking up in the braking zones, I've noticed in particular. Perhaps cost him a little on exits, which is why we've seen him tail off a little bit through some of the sections of the circuit. But then when it comes to the braking, it seems to be something that he does particularly well, and it's kept him in touch throughout. But fascinating to see. You've got car 4, 5 and 18 in the front pack, and I suggest to you, Corey, with 3.5 laps to go, the gloves will be off shortly.
Well, I think the gloves are very quickly starting to come off, Alex, because Tanko got a very bad first part of that final chicane on the last lap. Sawyer has been absolutely on his gearbox for this entire lap so far. It's the closest that he's been to trying to make a move. You can see he's even closer still. He's going to the outside. Looks like he's going to try and make a move now, Alex. And this could throw Tanko off a little bit because he hasn't been on that inside line for this whole race. He very wisely pulls in behind. It looks like Tanko is actually carrying a little bit of damage there to his wing, Alex. He might have hit one of the curbs a little bit too hard. His right winglet there on the front looks a little bit bent up on my screen.
Yeah, it certainly does look a little bit worse for wear there. As we look behind from Sawyer this time, you can see the front right of wing there is a little bit bent out of shape. Can affect you a little bit on the straights here. He's done a good job of it too. Despite how big the curbs look around here, it's really only that first corner that does the major bit of damage. But apparently, I would suggest that might have been either the entry to the final chicane or the similarly at the first chicane. He might have grabbed a little bit too much curb there. But look, it shouldn't affect him too much, I wouldn't have thought. But certainly won't be playing on his mind until afterwards when he has a look, perhaps, Corey.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, as you're driving, you don't really notice those kinds of things, Alex. And he's definitely driving like his car is absolutely in pristine condition. And these guys are still putting on all the pressure. And, you know, I've got to say, I'm very impressed by Renhopper and the way that he's been acting throughout this race. I mean, yeah, he's the 18-plate driver. He is a 3310 I rating. But just sitting behind these two guys, he has been learning so much. And as you said, you know, he has improved so much as this race has continued on. As you see now, Tanko showed the nose a little bit there on the inside coming into the bus stop. Now, this is where the mind games are going to start playing out, Alex. We're going to have 2 laps to go when we get to the start-finish line. I think the gloves are definitely starting to come off now.
Yeah, it could be. I'll tell you what nearly came off was the left-hand side of Sawyer's car there. I thought he was going to grab the wall on the exit of that first chicane as he rides very hard over the final chicane. Now, going into turn 1 now. Does he grab much of that curb? No, just a little kiss there, because if you grab it too much, you'll be spat out into the outside wall on the exit too. These guys now with the balance of 2 remaining, coming through the infield section now, trying to get these exits right. Entries and exits, apexes and exits. That's what you want to hit, Corey, as these laps count down now. Oh, Tanko having a look up the inside there. I tell you what, he's really putting all sorts of pressure over Sawyer now.
And that's exactly right, Alex, he is. And the more pressure he pours on Sawyer, the more chance of Sawyer making a mistake. Tanko right up on his gearbox here as they're coming back onto the oval section. And another thing that we haven't talked about yet, Alex, is the possibility of lap traffic playing a role in this. I can see Anthony Jones just up the road in 17th as Tanko now makes his move to the inside of Sawyer coming to the bus stop. Sawyer backed out of it, let the move happen, slots back in the second. And how's the exit? Oh, Sawyer got a little bit too close to the wall for comfort there. He saw that he steered out of it to try and avoid the wall at all costs. And now he's running a little bit wider on the oval, maybe trying to get the slingshot down into that final chicane, Alex, as we're getting ready to start the final lap.
Shows the nose, pulls back in. Got Renhofer a little interested there, but I think that was moving out of the draft so as not to get too much of a run there. He didn't want to overtake on that lap as the white flag comes out, and we are on the last lap, Corey. Who's your money on at this stage, mate?
I'm going to have to put my money on Sawyer. He's in the best position to try and make a move. But Renhofer, if these two in front of him come into contact, is going to be sitting pretty. But I still got my money on Sawyer, Alex. I know he's a good, fast, clean driver. And I reckon we could see a big move here from him, either going into the bus stop or that final chicane.
Yeah, absolutely, Corey. Be interesting to see what he does. Hard on himself with his racecraft. Does have an error in him, but he's lightning fast as well. As we come on to the oval section for the final time, we see Sawyer now sitting in P2. Will it be the first or the second chicane? I tell you what, Renhofer would want to get a wriggle on. He's 4/10 behind. He won't get a look here. It's going to be down to these two in this chicane. Oh, he he's going to force him to the outside now. Sawyer and Tanko, they're going to go side by side for the first time. No, Sawyer backs out of it, gives Tanko a compromised line. Will that compromise his exit? I'll tell you what. Oh, that exit was not as good as you would have hoped. That's given Sawyer the run. Tanko's going to force him wide. Oh, really wide. Tanko now is forcing Sawyer to take a lot of extra road here, but he will have the inside run now. Very narrow entry there for Sawyer. He backs out of it, and Tanko hits the wall, and it's Sawyer. Sawyer's taking it on the line, that compromised line into the final chicane there. Let's go back and have a look at that, Corey. I tell you what, Sawyer, the mind games there. Let's see Tanko. I'll tell you what, can I get a tighter angle there? I'll stick here with this one here as we see Tanko forces him wide there into the wide line, and then makes him take a bit of road to think about getting a worse run in here. But Sawyer was side by side, and then it's smart play by Sawyer. I really have to say smart. Compromised on the inside, backs out of it. But Tanko, forced to leave enough of a width, gets a poor run out there, and he's very, very narrow on the second part. And Sawyer looking to do the switchback. Tanko carried too much speed, put it into the wall. Sawyer, he was lucky not to get collected on the exit there. But that's, I've got to tell you, for a bloke who was hard on himself for racecraft in the last race, Sawyer's done a magic job there, Corey.
That's exactly right, Alex. And what an incredible final lap that was. We thought the move was going to be on going into the bus stop, and Sawyer just backing out a bit in time to not make them go 2x2. Very smart play. I knew I had my money on him for a reason, Alex. And he's doing a little bit of a celebration here coming into the pit lane right now. But, absolutely incredible race by these top three the entire time. It wasn't as much action as what we saw last week at Phillip Island, but there was so much strategy going on, and unlucky for Tanko there hitting the wall, but still crossing the line in third. And big congratulations to Renhofer, who, as the 18th plated car, came in P2, Alex. Absolutely incredible, no matter what the strength of field is. Incredible effort there all round.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's go and take a look at our final results here tonight I'll tell you what, I've done a great job of typing there. That's meant to say round 3. Let me just hang on. I'll leave it there. That's all right. It is round 3 from Charlotte Motor Speedway. I must have got distracted while I was typing. For Sunday Night Lights season 19 now, Jose Sawyer. He's done a fantastic job for Piston Sim Racing Team there, taking out what I think might be his maiden victory. I can't recall he's had another one, but fantastic drive. Really impressed with that final lap and that final chicane. Renhofer for mine. Oh, I tell you what, it's a tight race between those two for driver of the night. Renhofer, the 18-plated car, qualified third, up to second, stuck with the leaders all night. Fantastic drive for him to finish in P2. John Tanko led the whole race, and perhaps just slightly outplayed by his countrymen into that final chicane. Finishes third tonight. No slouch certainly, and not a result to cry over for sure. P4 went to Maxime Bantifoulier from France. P5, he's been done by Maxime there as Ben Smith tonight for Evolution Racing Team. Still, top 5 finish, nothing to sneeze at. P6 went to UK and I's Benny Simonson, about a second or so, or half a second ahead of his compatriot Simon Edwards in P7. James McRitchie, the third UK and I driver in here tonight, in P8. Manu Lucetta from Italy in P9 tonight. Rod Pidnar from ANZ in P10. Håkon Grebstad for Team Ovaltine, leading the chocolate milk rivalry tonight in P11. P12, the next chocolate milk team, Team Milo, I should say. John Scholz leading the way for them tonight as we go over the page. Harvey Guerrero from Iberian P13. P14 went to Team Milo's Luke Witten. Thrustmaster Mivano Racing's Enzo Cantor in P15. Not a result he'll be too pleased with, no doubt. Ryan Shooter from ANZ in P16. Anthony Jones from Team Torpedo in 17th. Finnish driver Timo Vaskalampi in P18. Mitchell McLeod for Talk Inc. in P19. And Alberto Alvarez Gonzalez, 17 laps down. Didn't have a great run tonight, the Iberian, in P20. Strength of field, as we said, Corey, 42.52. We're back on top of the pops. Jose Soria with a 29.461 to take out the fastest lap of the night. Corey, great finish for Jose. He almost got the Triple Crown. He got P2 on the grid. Finished first and fastest lap. Not a bad effort for the Iberian.
Not a bad effort at all, Alex. And I do believe this is actually his first win, and I reckon he's going to be having a very excited talk with you in a second here, because I can see him waiting in the green room for us to drag him up and have a chat.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I'm just going to try and grab a spot in the in the replay here. So we've got something going on in the background, and we will grab Mr. Soria on the view there, make it go a bit quiet, and then bring him up for a chat. Let me just grab him.
Yeah, that's
Jose, welcome to the Top Split TV broadcast booth, mate. Is that? I think Corey and I were saying that we think that's your first win, and what a way to get it.
Yeah, it is, and no, I'm actually pretty proud of it, because I didn't really do much practice, and I took a 2-week break or so from my racing. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I got like kind of lucky at the end there with John missing the chicane. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, luck, mate. I think you're a bit hard on yourself, because I thought you set it up well, mate. Show the nose up the inside, and then let him. Really, he had a compromised line on the second part of that chicane, and too narrow, too much speed, put it in the wall. So I thought you set it up really well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I don't think it was like that good of a move, only luck, but yeah, still nice to have the win.
Yeah, in the context of the race, mate, it was the one move and the one move that counted in the end. But certainly big congratulations for the first win of the season and of SNL, I think, in the races that you've done. We've said you've always had the pace in quali. Nice to back it up with a win tonight for Piston Sim Racing Team, mate. But thanks again for joining us. Congratulations on the win. Fantastic result. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, so thanks, and well, I want to give a shout out to you guys for putting in the work for the broadcast. It's always nice to see, all the time, like since I think season 4 when I started watching it, when I started driving the Skippy. Yeah, you guys always put on a great show.
Thanks, Jose, mate. Really appreciate it, and congrats. And we certainly hope to see you not only back again, but back right up there in the thick of it in the coming weeks.
Yeah, thanks again, guys. I'll probably do some more practice for the next race, and yeah, hopefully I'll be up there too.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, Jose. We'll talk to you then.
Yeah.
There you go, Corey Jose Soria. I hope I'm pronouncing his surname right, but he's done a fantastic job out there tonight to take out his maiden victory.
That's exactly right, Alex. And he did play the part perfectly. He might have thought that it was not quite right, but the way that he made Tanko go that deep into that final chicane was absolutely a work of art. And to come out of it without hitting Tanko and still, maintain the pace to stay in front of Renhofer, who was right on his heels when they came across the line. Absolutely beautiful move. And, I look forward to seeing what he can do in the future, because now that he's got his first win, the rest of them should start falling down his lap.
Yeah, potentially. If he's got the racecraft to back up the pace that he's got, mate, everyone's in a bit of strife, I think. But next on our list is Mr. Ben Smith. Ben, welcome back to the booth, mate. Top 5 tonight was all she wrote after taking out the warm-up race. The pace was certainly on out there tonight, mate.
Yeah, I guess at these tracks, it comes a lot down to, although you can't win the race in qualifying, but it definitely helps when you're able to well, if you're not the fastest, you're able to keep it with them. But that wasn't the case tonight. Just stuffed up me second lap. Just had a 0x, which eliminated the time. So unfortunately, wasn't able to start up there in the top. I don't know. I think it would have put me third or fourth. But yeah, it was really tough. John had heaps of pace, and I was really close to being able to stick with him. I strung probably 5 or 6 really fast laps together, and the gap hardly came down, and then made a mistake and just lost it all. But it was a good race with Maxime in the end.
Yeah, mate. Well, we were saying a couple of times during the broadcast that, yeah, certainly had the pace to match it with him, but probably not to catch him. And that's the thing here. The quality of the field's so high. We had the strongest strength of field for the week by a margin. And, once you get those really quick guys in there, it's hard to bridge a gap once it opens, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, these are the kind of races I love. Like, it's rare that I'm the quickest on the track, but I like to think that I can race pretty smart most of the time. So, I kind of thrive off these races, and I would have loved to be up in the front pack, but it just wasn't to be tonight.
Yeah, that's it, mate. But certainly put on a good show this week and in the weeks previous. Last week's race was an absolute cracker. So hopefully, well, I don't know what sort of racing VIR, Virginia International Raceway, will bring us next week, but hopefully he'll be back and we'll certainly find out, mate.
Yeah, definitely not one of my favourites, but yeah, it should make for some good racing in the Skiffy. Thanks to you guys for putting on the broadcast tonight. Hopefully everyone who intended on making it made it with these daylight savings changes.
Yeah, well, that's the plan, mate. That's right, folks. We're an hour different after daylight savings change, and it hasn't kept people away. We had 10 splits tonight, which was a fantastic result. But thanks once again to Evolution Racing Team's Benjamin Smith, and hopefully we'll see you in the coming weeks, mate.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
There you go, Corey. Ben Smith once again putting on a great show on and off the track. I pose the question again: what sort of race and what sort of feel we're going to get next week at the long? I think it's even the longest version of VIR, mate.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, Alex. And it's not usually a track where we see too terribly much participation. So we could see a completely different field to what we saw here tonight, which has been the highest participation that we've seen here ever as a commentary duo. But nevertheless, I do believe our regulars will definitely be out in force, and it should be a cracking race. And unfortunately, Ben Smith not going to get his three-peat here tonight with the 5th place finish. He was probably hoping that we didn't change the time slot because of daylight savings, but 5th place is still nothing to sneeze at all. Hopefully, he can turn that around next week. And I'm looking forward to seeing what our drivers can do around what is a very difficult track.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty much a one line track around there, quite challenging, popular with the purists, I think, but certainly not one that brings them out in droves. So hopefully we get a good field of purists next week as we do round 5. But that might do us here tonight for round 4 of Sunday Night Lights, season 19 from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Corey, what do you got on the books for the coming week?
So on Wednesday, there is going to be no broadcast over on my Aussie Sim commentator channel. The Output Racing League is taking the week off, which would normally be the week off for the real life NASCAR series. But Thursday night, you guys can catch me on my own channel, twitch.tv/Corey Has No Life 13, as we take on the next round of the ODSE 360 Sprint Cars Power Series. Not actually sure which track we're at, and it scares me a little bit. But we made the feature last week, hoping for another good result again here this week, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I watched that, of course, making the A main. That was a fantastic effort, mate. Congratulations. But for us, folks, that will do us for the week, as we said. On your screen now is where you can find us. The Top Split YouTube channel, of course, is where the replay of this race each and every week will be. The Discord server is where we do the broadcast commentary and post-race interviews. You can find us here, of course, on Twitch each Sunday night and occasionally during the week for our own races, which has been a bit of fun to get back in the saddle, of course, after the season off. But for now, folks, thank you once again for joining us. It's a great pleasure having you, and without your support, it would not happen. So I've been your host, Alex McKellar, and once again, on behalf of my co-commentator, the chaotic one, Mr. Corey Steinhauser, thank you for joining us, and ciao for now.